Welcome to a VSA Capital video blog, and delighted this morning to have Vincent Mascolo, the Chief Executive of IronRidge Resources. Obviously, Vincent, you're recording this down in Sydney. I'm actually recording it from my house in Cornwall, so we're all over the world, but we're in big mining districts. How are you, Vincent?
I'm very well, Andrew. Thanks for inviting me on today, your time.
Well, to be honest, I think we've got quite a lot to talk about. Well, it's a fairly simple story, and that is, I used to about 18 months ago call you the punter's favourite because you were a sort of 7p stock. You were doing a lot of exploration type work. A lot of the retail investors were getting very excited. It was great. We saw your stock go from about 7p to 28p, so it was a fourfold move. But actually, that tag should probably come off now. I mean, you're a very serious company, exceptionally well funded, and yet the bizarre bit is the share price is lower than when it peaked as the punter's favourite. So, I mean, look, let's start off. Obviously, the big news that we're talking about is Piedmont coming in and fully funding your lithium project and actually leaving you as a core PLC quoted company with a lot of cash as well. But just give us a quick minute on that deal, because it's an incredible deal, which the market, I don't think, is really appreciated enough.
Yeah, look, we agree with you, Andrew, but I think time is our friend now. We're fully cashed up. $30 million US treasury shortly, and a project that requires no further funding. And that was the key element for us. We've been talking to Piedmont since sort of Christmas, and we knew what criteria we needed which we thought was going to resonate in the marketplace, and that was effectively not sell our soul, not lose control of the asset, and certainly not lose control of the product. And we've delivered that with Piedmont committing to a $15 million US placement in IronRidge, which will soon be completed as a formality from shareholder approval to approve the placing capacity. And once that's complete, they'll start spending they will spend $17 million US in regional and activities to studies. And we set a DFS criteria to trigger the CapEx spend. And that DFX criteria has already been met by virtue of the scoping study. So we made sure that that was achievable and also allowed us some flexibility if there was a range in the CapEx that was required. So we could lower the throughput or we could increase the throughput. And we managed to squeeze that flexibility out of it. But yeah, I mean, three-stage program, 15 million topco, 17 million in the ground, and 70 million to develop the project to production. And Ghana is stoked. We're stoked. Piedmont is very pleased. I think that closes the gap in their narrative. They got their visionary company. They've put a lot of effort into developing their initiatives. And from our perspective, established inroads in with Tesla and the all-American auto manufacturing sector.
And I mean, one of the key points here is that, first of all, the whole continent of Africa doesn't really have a successful lithium mine for batteries. And this is American organization coming in, so it's very strategic to the whole US and the current sort of US-China, should we say, not Cold Wars, I think the wrong word, but, race to become self-sufficient. And you're right at the heart of it all. I mean, so this makes it a very valuable project. And as you say, fully funded, standalone, and you've still got huge interest in it. It's quite surprising in a way that the market has responded so mutely.
Yeah, we're a little bit stunned, but we're not worrying about it so much now. I mean, we got over the shock and horror of it, but I think in time, we're £100+ million market cap now. We're fully funded, so that stress has gone from us. Our
do you think maybe there was a bit of? I mean, do you think the market, Bacanora did a similar sort of deal with Ganfeng, but then got into what I describe as a bit of a Ganfeng squeeze, where they've obviously taken control without perhaps paying the sort of premium that some investors had hoped for? Do you think maybe people are making that sort of comparison?
That would be a very wrong comparison because we still have 50% of the product, 50% of the projects, and we still own all the lithium projects in Côte d'Ivoire 100%. So the tail's not wagging the dog just yet, as I read someone say the other night. If you think a little bit about it, right, there's an opportunity now for someone to, shall we say, take 50% of a project, 50% of the product, and it's fully funded if they think a little bit outside the box. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's just across the Atlantic operationally. From an OPEX perspective, it makes sense. I think one thing that the key element, I mean, Piedmont spent 6-7 days on site, and have spent months going through all our data. And the key element, or the key takeaway, is our project is so doable. Other projects are 1,000 kilometres from coast. They don't have the proximity to infrastructure that we do, and in particular in Africa. So I mean, these are all the tick the boxes elements that really attracted Piedmont. And in a nutshell, we are a very doable project, and we have very early timelines to deliver. And we're very advanced with our environmental. Our environmental has already gone through wet dry cycles. We've engaged full-blown environmental consultants, very advanced, and this is all in the lead up to mining lease applications. So we're far more advanced than I think people actually realise.
And Ghana as a country is probably one of the best countries to operate in the continent of Africa, isn't it? It's pretty stable, pretty sensible, legally wise.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with the roots into the UK, into Britain, so they know the 100-year mining history. They know what it takes, and they're very proud as a nation. And part of that pride is going to be they are the first lithium producing country in West Africa. So we have full support.
As you say, this isn't actually the end of the story either. I mean, there's no reason why. I mean, you're still here, you're still running the business, so to speak.
Yeah.
You just got it fully funded and a great sort of partner. I mean, there's more upside to come potentially here, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. With the treasury of 30 million US, I mean, it's pretty much that treasury that has got us to this point today. So we've got that again. So what can we use that money and develop with that money moving forward? But, that's I guess it vindicates the exploration business model of exploration, discovery to production. We've delivered on a key project for IronRidge, and we have a pipeline of assets that can deliver multiples of that. So now that is effectively sort of out of the way. There's a lot of attention to the deep gold demerger. And, that's going to be led by Zaranu in Côte d'Ivoire, and we think we're going to repeat the success there, similar to what we've done here in Ghana.
And on the gold demerger, I think you announced it at the beginning of June, roughly. So we're only a month into it, and these things unfortunately do take time, and nowadays they seem to take longer than they used to take. So I guess we won't see anything until well into the autumn of the actual demerger. But how does that leave? The treasury, does it stay with the lithium, or how are you funding the gold? I mean, what's going to happen there in terms of capital?
Oh, I can't really disclose that, Andrew, until we go to the market. You know that.
Give us a little hint.
There's a number of. I'd really love to be able to give you the heads up, but I enjoy sleeping in a bed without bars. There's a number of ways we can skin that, and we're still looking at how we're going to present that to the marketplace. But I think either way, it's going to be a win-win for all existing shareholders. And I think that given the advanced nature of Zaranu and our other projects in Côte d'Ivoire that we are currently we haven't stopped working. I think we're going to justify a very significant market cap and existing shareholders will get the benefit of that in the coming months when we come public with the plans. Hopefully, it'll be sooner than a couple of months. Hopefully, within a month.
It's interesting, a demerger, because theoretically a demerger, and I'm talking theoretically here, it shouldn't add value because you've got exactly the same assets. You simply put them into two different baskets. But of course, is perhaps one of the intentions to highlight the fact, look, here we brought a partner in on the lithium, and we'll demerge and we'll bring a partner in on the gold. Is that sort of, and it makes it easier. I mean, I sort of, when you announced the demerger, suggested, well, is that actually an up for sale sign? Because often that's what a demerger is. I mean, how does that work? Is that what your sort of view is, that you're slowly actually, all you're trying to do actually is make shareholder value?
Look, the exploration business model was about de-risking and hedging the downside. That's why we went multi-commodity, multi-jurisdictional. So, that worked. And we always, we could have spun off multiple, many of our portfolios. We're effectively 5 companies in one, but we chose not to do that until we de-risked the projects, and we're going to guarantee, well, we were very comfortable that we were going to deliver successful spin-offs and stories. So, look, it worked, but then, by virtue of the market, the climate, market conditions, the 1+1 we were never going to achieve under the diversified model. But the whole intention, I guess, of announcing the demerger was to expand the audience that would be interested in the lithium. There are a lot of suitors out there that were thinking that we were too complicated because we had gold in the mix. So we alleviated those concerns, announced the intention of the demerger. And to be honest, Andrew, with these current prices, the lithium project's hugely undervalued by peer comparison alone. Effectively, we're getting zero value for the gold. So let's take it out, let's put it into its own vehicle, and let's give it a new lease of life. And I think the strategy that will ultimately be put forward to shareholders will be in the interest of all shareholders.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the timing you can never predict completely, but obviously you've gone into a summer where I'm just trying to explain your share price slightly. Perhaps a lot of the big punters, dare I say, and the institutions have all decided to actually take the summer off a little bit and have wound down their books a bit. I can confirm that, certainly on the institutional side, because I can tell you a lot of them are down here in Cornwall with me, and they're like me, taking the whole of July off just to actually sort of control, alt, delete, and reset themselves. And I think maybe you've run into that slightly, which has held the share price back, because some people just taking some money off the table. And as you say, that then should, as we come back in the autumn, you do the demerger, actually give you another chance to see the share price rise up quite significantly.
I thought at your end of the spectrum, Andrew, money never sleeps.
Well, money never sleeps completely, and here I am, still recording with you, Vincent. But it doesn't mean to say that sometimes it's not a good idea to have a pause and to reset and to rethink one's strategy.
Look, our strategy's set. I think we've done a great deal with Piedmont. We've announced the demerger. The market surely has to wake up to the valuation gap that we're suffering right now. And we're going to, hopefully, we're poised to do, well, not hopefully, we're poised to repeat in the gold what we've just done in the lithium. And, testament to what the boys have put together over the last 4 or 5 years from scratch. And that's what we specialize in: early stage exploration projects, de-risk them with our own money, take the sweat money, hurt money, and then we are now in a position to develop effectively 2 company makers in their own vehicles. And Piedmont Lithium, Tesla, automakers in the US, Ghana, it just ticks all the boxes.
But I mean, one final question, perhaps. I mean, they're 2 amazing announcements, hugely amazing announcements, actually, what you announced. But is it like buses? Are they going to come in 3s? I mean, is there another maybe exploration thing you've got your eyes just sort of over there? I'd quite like to have a go at that. We've delivered on the lithium, we've delivered on the gold. Hey, come on, guys, follow us on this. We've got another big one. Could that happen?
Look, it could happen. But to be honest, I think what we've got in I think the gold portfolio portfolios could be demergers within demergers as they develop in their own right. I mean, we have such a significant landholding in Cote d'Ivoire and Chad. Short term Zaranu, longer term Dorothy, and then the broader initiatives across the three portfolios in Cote d'Ivoire. So, yeah, look, there's a lot of opportunity has been knocking on our door since the announcement of the demerger and the Piedmont deal. And it's with interest that we are looking at other opportunities, but our key focus right now is let's get the demerger done. We've indicated that to shareholders. We needed to get the Piedmont deal across the line and sorted, 100% focused on the demerger. And I think that could develop into a multiple company maker in its own right.
Actually, before I finish, just pick up on one point there, because you say you see a lot of opportunities. Do you see a lot of opportunities? Because actually, I often hear from exploration companies or mining companies that all the good opportunities have basically been taken, and there aren't that many opportunities out there. Do you think that's wrong? Do you see plenty?
We do, but should I probably say more in the greener field, so more highly prospective than advanced. But that's a better entry price than going into, all of a sudden you've got an advanced project that, was a decommissioned operation when commodity prices were low, and then it's a big rush. I think our approach is, we're looking for more advanced exploration opportunities that we can really exercise our expertise in. I mean, we've assembled a spectacular group of African-focused geoscientists, right? And that's what's going to take us forward to the next stages, I guess.
I think that's what you do have to admire. You have done literally what you said you would do on the tin, and you clearly do have a good team working for you. And I think if you did find another exploration project, greenfield, people should follow you because you have delivered. So hopefully they will, and hopefully you will.
I think so too. Thanks, Andrew.
That's right. I'm always happy to be supportive. Anyway, on that note, thank you for having a quick chat with Vincent. I'm aware that it's obviously late in the day for you down in Sydney, but I think that it is. You've made two really great announcements, to be honest with you. But the Piedmont deal is a really good deal, and in my view, certainly the market has not fully appreciated. But as you say, actually, you've got plenty of time now. You can just sit and wait and watch the share price appreciate. Which is no bad thing. Some of us perhaps in the last 12 months have seen share prices flying so high and so fast. We can't understand the idea of gradual appreciation, which is not a bad thing. Getting rich slowly is a good thing.
Well, if I can, Andrew, I'll just add to that. I mean, we have actually just leapfrogged the funding valley. And that can take years for people to secure funding for their projects, right? It's done. And I think that's the key message from me here today, is that funding valley, that orphan period, as it's so commonly called, is now gone. And people need to keep that in mind.
Well, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And investors, of course, have never quite understood that part, because you see this huge rush up in share prices over the exploration, but during that funding period you often do see share prices go down, and then when they're fully funded they start to go back up again. But what you also see during that period often is a switch from retail investors to institutional investors, and I guess that's something that you need to work with now and get more of an institutional book, because you are fully funded, guys. Look, you can see that it's all going to work. The risk has been taken off, but it's a different sort of return. And that is the other issue that you have with companies that go through that phase, is changing that shareholder base. Yeah.
And look, it's work in progress from our side. I mean, we recently appointed Liberum as our joint broker. So hopefully that's going to do the trick in the next couple of weeks as well.
Well, they're not bad. They're not as good as VSA Capital, but
Of course. Sorry, Andrew. But you might want to cut this.
No, I'll leave this bit in, please.
You'll leave this bit in. But yeah, look, I think there's, you're right. There needs to be a shift, and I think also I'm expecting we're going to see a pool of money come in from the US following Piedmont. and going, well, you know, why have they invested in IronRidge? It's because our project is very doable.
So would you get maybe, I mean, an OTC quote in America tends to be just for retail, not for institutions, but would you think about getting a NASDAQ quote?
It was something we were playing with, but look, I think we're, you know, one step at a time for us. You know, let's get the gold demerger happening. But I think that there's going to be a flood of money coming in from the east coast of the US. You know, by their standards, we're a penny dreadful, right? So, you know, it should be an easy spend and an investment. Noting that you've got Piedmont and at the helm in the US.
Actually, I'd agree with that. And I think also, interesting enough, I mean, both US and UK investors are getting a little bit of a rejuvenation on this size mining, partially because actually we have some quite successful mining companies coming up in Cornwall, of all places. We just had the G7 there. That's obviously where I'm sitting at the moment. But what is interesting is that because you can go and visit these mines, and actually yesterday I was underground with some institutions at South Crofty. I don't know if you know South Crofty, but we were literally 10 meters deep, taking them around. On the Friday before, we were at Tungsten West in the open pit looking at that. And it was interesting because it's the first time we've been able to take out what I describe as mainstream institutions who look at the whole market and actually take them to mines and say, look, here are mines that are going to go into production. And it's opened a completely new window, I think, in the UK institutional investor base. You've got a completely new set of people now looking at this sort of stage mining, which is really positive for the industry, actually, because they have a lot more money than some of the specialist mining funds.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings me to the point I alluded to at the start of the conversation. Projects fully funded, IronRidge still retains 50% of the product and 50% of the project, plus 100% of what we have in Côte d'Ivoire. Some of these funds might actually see an opportunity that isn't so clear at the moment.
Well, what we need to do is get you on a plane, Vincent, and walk you around the city. You see, you're stuck. We're all stuck. Although, look, the good news is we've just had Boris Johnson announce that our restrictions are coming off on July the 19th. So fingers crossed we're getting out of this dreadful mess.
Well, we've had our Scott Morrison say the restrictions aren't coming off. So there you go. Chalk and cheese, Andrew.
Anyway, look, Vincent, it's always fun to talk to you, but it's also very informative because I think you are in a great position. It's a fairly unique position as well, and I think the stock price is too cheap. It'll just take a little bit of time, but it's one that you can tuck away and watch it, you know, slowly increase in value. So, Vincent, thanks for coming on and chatting, and I'm sure we'll be chatting again soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. Always a pleasure. Good to speak to you again. Thank you.